Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Explain 11. It has been a long time. The Zibo 737-800 is in the market and everybody's downloading and using this plane. I think back in 2018 when I purchased the Explain 11 and I downloaded it, the Zibo MOD 737 has always been there. I tried it 2 years back, only one flight. It was, I think, from Abu Dhabi to Islamabad. I think, if I'm not wrong, it was a live stream, no tutorial, no nothing, and I just did a quick flight without the startup, and that's it. Because initially, when I was learning the flight simulator, there were many things which I had to learn, so I was just going step by step. And my first priority was the FMC because that was the most difficult part. But now I have been practicing this plane a lot. And I just thought of making this video for the beginners. So this video is totally for the beginners. If you are at the beginners level and you've recently purchased Explain 11 or you're new to the flight simulation, this is going to be a good video for you. But if you are at a certain level of expertise in the flight simulation, I don't think so. This video will really help you out. I'm going to start a new flight and I will be using the Boeing 737-800X. Yes, this one, which says 4K. It is actually the Zibo MOD 737-800. There is also a video on my channel which you can just go and consult, which tells you how to download this plane and install into Explain 11. I will be flying from Lahore, which is OPLA. Let's see, yes, Allama Iqbal International Airport. This is the airport for Lahore. And I will be using Terminal 12 to start the flight. And for takeoff, I will be using runway 36 right. So let's confirm. And weather, I'm using clear skies. And time of the morning is 8 to 5 in the morning, early morning flight. It's all customized. I'm not using the real time or real life time and weather. So here we are at Allama Iqbal International Airport, Lahore. And we are ready. This is the cockpit for the Zibo MOD 737-800, a nice plane. Let's go out and have a look at this plane. This is a very nicely done plane. I'm using this PIA livery. I think it's not active anymore. It's obsolete. But this is the one which was available on the Zibo MOD livery library. So that's why I'm using this livery. Otherwise, it has changed, and I don't think so. PIA has any longer flying the Boeing 737-800. Initially, they used to have Boeing 737, and I don't think so nowadays. They have Boeing 737. It's only A320s. But just for the sake of this video, as I was doing it from Lahore to Islamabad, I am using this livery and this plane. Okay, so let's get inside the plane and let's start the tutorial. First of all, there are a few things that you have to do in the tab in order to have a better experience of the flight. There are 2-3 things that I will tell you. If you look at the tab, you will see over here on the top 1 by 2. So it means this view has got 2 pages. If you click on this side and this arrow appears like this, and you can access the configuration and customization option. And over here, you have to go into hardware and you have to select the nose wheel access to yaw. This is very important to do. Initially, I was not using this option yaw, and it was on, due to which I was having great difficulty in taxi. So while taxiing, it was very difficult to move the plane left and right, and it was a nightmare. Then I searched over the internet and somebody suggested me that if you go over here in the settings and you set the nose wheel access to yaw, your problem will be solved. And for the rest of the things, you can explore it yourself, but this is the only thing that I change over here. If I go back and I go into display and variants, and if I go into system, you have a heads up display for the captain. So for the Zibo MOD, you can switch it on or you can switch it off. I like to use the heads up display, so I will use this option. And anything else, let's go back and let's go into general configuration and over here you will see global units. So I will be using kgs. So these are the three things that you have to do. First, change the nose wheel to yaw, then have the heads up display over here like this. So that's the best part about Zibo mod, that the heads up display is there. And the third is to change the units to kgs, because I will be updating the flight plan in the system using the kg units. Okay. So a little bit of introduction of the cockpit. For the beginners, it's really important to understand the systems and everything, because I will be referring to these terminologies. You should be really familiar with them. This is the overhead panel, the after overhead panel, and the overhead panel. This is the complete overhead panel you have. So all of the major things are over here. Then you have the EFIS, Electronic Flight Instrument System, and this is the EFIS for the configuration of the flight and navigation display and the primary flight display. I will just explore everything during the course of the tutorial. And this is the MCP, which is the mode control panel. I am always confused. So it's mode control panel. Okay. And this is the pedestal for the mainly used for the navigation, what you can say, the radio communication, and plus for the navigation. I will not be using this one. We'll be only using the navigation option. Radio I will not be using. This is the throttle flaps. Again, during the course of this video, I'll tell you how flaps work and why flaps are used. Then this is the speed brake if you need to slow down your plane during the flight, the speed brake, and plus for the pitch, this is the trim. So you can change the pitch of the plane, whether up and down. Oxygen masks in case of any emergency. Circuit breakers at the back, we don't need them. And obviously, we'll not be using them in the flight simulator. I think they're also on the back. And this is the cockpit door. Don't forget to close the cockpit door before the takeoff. And this is one of the notes that I've made. Okay. So that's it with the introduction of the plane. So first of all, I would just like to tell you one basic thing which you have to keep this thing in your mind. And the basic thing is this, that for the initial startup, to have all the systems up, we use the batteries of the plane to start the plane. So once we have the initial power in the plane, then we switch to the ground power. Ground power unit is a van which is providing what you can say electricity to the plane for all the basic things to work. And once the plane is about to start, we disconnect the ground power, because obviously you cannot fly with the ground power attached to the plane all the time. You switch to the APU, which is over here. So this is the battery, this is the ground power, and this is the APU. And this is known as the auxiliary power unit. It's actually a generator inside the plane, which gives power to the plane once the ground power is disconnected. And once the engines are started, you disconnect the APU, and the power is then generated by the engines. So this is something basic. I'm telling you all these things because I have been watching many videos over the internet for the past many years, and I have been seeing that most of the people, they simply jump onto the startup procedures, switch this on, switch this on, switch this on, and it gets very difficult for me to actually understand why this step is being done. And let's say a PAX on. Some people explain, but some will just cross over it, just why PAX on. So you always think, why PAX on, or why APU, or why this and why this. And honestly speaking, due to this reason, for quite a long time, I was hesitant in starting the plane from the cold and dark state. Thanks to Microsoft Flight Simulator, that they have actually a proper procedure given in the simulator. You can just follow that and you can start up the plane, and from there I started learning. So it was a nice phase for me. So that's why when I make these videos now, I try to keep it very simple and explain everything so that you have the logic. So if you know the logic, then you can easily start the plane. So first of all, again, one more thing I would like to tell you. There are many checklists available. You'll watch different videos. Everybody has a different procedure. there is no standard checklist, no, not one checklist, there are different checklists. So in this video I have actually prepared a checklist of my own, and you can just follow these steps. Otherwise, if you are then familiar with all the cockpit controls and everything, then I think you can have your own checklist, you can follow some other checklist, but for this video, if you stick onto these steps, you will be able to have a nice flight with the Zibo mod. Okay, to begin with, we have to turn on the battery, as I told you, that we have to get the power to the plane. Now you can see that there is some life in the plane. Okay. Now I will go into the tab, and I will call for the ground services. Let's go here to page 1, ground services and GPU connect. Just a formal procedure. Okay, so you can see that now on the ground power, this light is lit. It says ground power available, and it's bright. So you can now switch it on by clicking your left mouse button once you see the down arrow. So now the ground power is also available, and if you want to see the voltage of the ground power and the DC and plus the AC power, you can switch the DC to battery, and you will see the voltage. It was already coming, and you can turn it to ground power. You can see how much volts are being there. So you can also use the DC and AC voltmeter selectors to see if the proper power is coming or not. At this stage, disengage the master caution. Check if the hydraulic pumps over here, electric hydraulic pumps 1 and 2, are off. Okay. Fuel pumps, these are the 3 fuel pumps. These 2 controls are for the center, for the left and for the right. So all the fuel pumps are off right now, which is good. And now it's time to switch on the interior lights. I'll begin with the overhead panel. Overhead panel, if you can see, there is this control with the help of which you can increase or decrease the overhead panel lighting. And this is for the circuit breaker at the back. Okay, no effect. Then if you come here, over here in the pedestal, you will see you can increase the brightness over here. And plus there is also a floodlight, which is not clearly visible because it's daylight. And then if you go at the back of the yoke, you will see, let me just remove it. If you have this hand sign over here and you click it, it disappears. So you can increase the brightness of this panel, and plus you can increase the brightness of the background, and plus like this. So this is how you can increase the lighting, and we can also do it for the co-pilot if required. Okay, that's it. Let's have the yoke back. I like to fly like this. It gives some, originality. Okay, now let's check one more thing. There are 2 switches over here. One is for the cabin utility, and the one for the IFE / pass seat. They are on. Just check this. Then emergency exit lights in the plane for the passengers. Just turn them on. Okay. And position light, just set it to steady, just to tell people on the ground that the plane is now going through the startup procedure and will be starting soon. So this indicator is turned on. Now at this time, I have to do the payload and fuel calculation, and for this we have to prepare a flight plan in the SimBrief. So let's go to SimBrief and prepare a flight plan. Simbrief.com. So this is the website which is powered by Navigraph, a very famous site which provides you tools to prepare 5 flight plans for the simulation, and they also have the airport charts and everything. So it's a good site. You simply have to make your login, and that's it. You can prepare flight plans. So on this page, the dispatch options, you have to enter few information, and that's it. By the way, when once you are watching this video, a movie, if the plane crashes, then it becomes a movie. Anyhow, so if you're watching this video, I assume that you are familiar with the flight planning, but still I will just go through the basics of the flight planning just to tell you how I make the flight plan. Okay, so OPLA, this is the ICAO code for the Lahore airport, and OPIS, which is the ICAO for the Islamabad International Airport. Okay, alternate airport, I will select OPST, which is Sialkot. This is an airport which is almost in the middle of Lahore and Islamabad. I will not be using this option anyhow, just for the operational flight plan. I've selected the alternate airport. And for the airframe, let's go and select 737-800. Can you see? Here it is. So, cruise profile, which is the cost index, you have to select the cost index, and the optimal cost index selected already coming with a star is 20. Cost index is actually a number used by various airlines in order to determine the speed for the autopilot. So the smaller the number, the higher is the speed of the plane. The greater the number, the slower is the speed of the plane, or the range increases. So it depends. So every airline has their own cost index features. So let's say if I'm using 20, the plane might be going at 280 knots at the cruising altitude. But if I'm using 50, it might be going at 250 knots at the cruising altitude. So the autopilot sets the speed as per the cost index. So remember to enter this number. For the simulation, obviously you are not paying for the fuel from your pocket, so no need to go for a high number. Always try to use 10 or 20 or 30, and that's it, maximum. I will tell you how to enter this number in the FMC of the Boeing 737. Takeoff runway will be 36, right? And the arrival runway will be 28, right? In Islamabad, this is good. Altitude, I will set it to 25,000 feet because it's a very short flight, so plane will not be able to climb 38,000, 35,000. So I will keep the altitude at 25,000 feet. Over here you can see the units are kg, so remember to check this option. Okay. Passengers, I will be carrying full passengers, and freight, 0 fuel weight automatic, and everything done. Now this is the information about the flight path. As you can see, it is visible over here, this diagram. So now we have all the information for the flight plan. Let's generate the flight plan, and let's see what options do we have regarding the fuel, because at this point we have to set the fuel. Okay, so now the flight plan is generated, and you can see the operational flight plan. It is almost close to the real life flight plan which the pilots get for the flight. Over here there's some information which you should be considering, which is over here, cruise systems. CI cost index is 20, and the ground distance 175, air distance 161. It's in nautical miles, and average wind, average ISA deviation 002. We will be using this one as well, and that's it. Now over here you will see maximum. This is the maximum weight, the takeoff weight 79,000 kgs. This is in kgs, or 79 tons. If you divide it by 1,000, it will give you tons. Maximum landing weight is 66,000. Anything above this weight, obviously plane will have issues in landing. And 0 fuel weight. 0 fuel weight means the weight of the plane with the passengers, with the cargo and everything, minus the fuel. And estimated for this flight is 65, 64 tons and 60 tons. So this is the weight I'm looking for, 60,878. So this is 60878. Just make a note of it. And that's it, because this is I will be calculating the payload and the passengers using this weight. Okay. Now the fuel is 5314, which is 5.4 tons. Yes, exactly. And the alternate and the refiners is plus this fuel is we'll be using in the FMC while we're programming. So that's it. Right now, this is the basic information we need for the fuel and for the payload. So let's get back into the cockpit and input all this information. So here I am, and you can see the payload. You can set the passengers. So this is the maximum number of passengers in different zones. So it's 16, you can enter it like this. 36 as I'm carrying full passengers. Maximum 36. 36. 36. Still there is a difference of the total weight should have been let's get back. I'll tell you one trick. So right now the zero fuel weight coming for the plane is 57,031, whereas it should have been 60,878 as per the flight plan. So we simply have to find the difference of this weight, and we can adjust this weight in the payload. I'll tell you this trick. So what you do is this, that you can open your calculator. I'm using a calculator for this, not so good with the mental maths. So 6878. So this is 6878 as per the flight plan. This is the weight you should be carrying. Right now it's 57031, 57031. Oops. So 384 kgs additional. So what I can do is this, I can just enter this in the cargo to after, forward and after. Okay. So 3847. So 3847. Enter. So if I go back and go into the payload, you can see exactly 60878. And if I go to the flight plan, I will see it over here. Zero fuel weight 60878. So now it's matching with the full passengers and everything. Now we have the proper zero fuel weight as per the flight plan. Now coming back to the tab, the fuel should be 5,314. So I will adjust 5,314. So as now I have entered the fuel, you can see the takeoff weight is 65,965. And if you go into the flight planning over here, the operational flight plan, you will see 65,965. So that's it. So this is how you adjust the fuel and plus the payload. Now one thing that we have to do before we proceed further, we have to call in for the fuel truck. Okay, so now the fuel truck will be on its way for the refueling, and as you can see now, the fuel is increasing in the left and the right tank. In the center tank there's nothing, and we'll just go with the fuel in the left and the right tank. Okay, now getting back over here on the overhead panel, we have to actually confirm that the recirculation fans are set to auto. And if you just go here and have a look at it, you will see it's set to auto. Okay, and packs for the air conditioning, they have to be set to auto. One more thing, just check that if the autopilot is disengaged and off, and this switch is up, so this is good. And the speed brake off, it should be like this in this position, forward position, not in the back position. Okay, so the speed brake is off. You can see it over here. I'll just give you a go. Okay, that's it. So oops. Okay, that's it. So this check is complete. Okay, now there are some necessary tests which we have to do. Not necessary as per the real life necessary, but obviously in the flight simulation you can skip these tests. This is the engine fire test. If you move this button to the left, the fault and the APU DET inop should come up, which is just perfectly alright. And if you move it to the right, you will see these alarms working. So you just have to do this test, because in order to ensure that if there is a fire, you get this alert, and that's it. And the alerts are working fine. So in case if there is a fire in the plane, you will hear this error. Okay, so now the fuel is all loaded up. At this time, you can turn on the seatbelt signs. Okay, I've set them to auto. And no smoking. Oh, okay. Now this is another fire test which you have to do is for the cargo. So in case if there's a fire in the cargo section, and you have to check the alarms are working properly or not. Another few checks, if you go into the after overhead panel, I'll just show you. Very interesting cockpit. This is the best thing I like about Zibo, and plus the 737. There is so much to interact with. You know, it really gives you a feeling that you're a real pilot. If you are using a 737, it's amazing. I'm just really loving this this plane for the last few days, and I'm just really in love with it. Okay, so the stall warning, there are two types of stall warnings. Number one, the column is shaking. Okay, so you can hear this stall warning test, so it's working perfectly all right. So in case during the flight, if the plane stalls, this stall warning will work perfect all right. And in case of overspeeding, this is good. This is some flight recorder, not some, the flight recorder. And if you move the button to the left, and if this light is off, you can see that it's working fine. So this test is also good. This is the oxygen. It should be 11 psi, which is good. And this is another switch for the dome light. If you want a light in the cockpit during the night, you can see this dome light is working perfectly all right. So you can use it. Okay, let's get back. That's it. Any other test? Yes. One more test for the flaps. So if there is any warning regarding the flaps, these lights will turn on. One more small test, and let's disengage this master caution. This is the lights test. If you move this button up, you will see all the lights in the cockpit will turn on, which will tell you if there is any issue, if any of the displays are doing the lights. So you can see everything is on and everything is good. Okay, and plus over here, if you press this button, you will see all the alerts. This is for the auto throttle, for the FMC, and for the autopilot. So, you know, over here and plus over here. Okay, so this is one of another test that you can conduct if you want. It's totally as per your discretion. Okay, so for this video, I actually combined all these tests together so that you can skip them if you want, or otherwise you can just do that. Okay, now one of the most important things that we have to do right now is activate the GPS of this plane, and this is done by going to this ILS control panel and turning these selectors left and right to nav. And over here, if you come display selection, you will select it to heading. In STS it says 7, which means it will take 7 minutes or rather 6 minutes for the GPS alignment. So this is all done. Now we have to program the FMC for the flight. So let's come and program the FMC. First of all, you will see this error, nav data out of date. Simply clear this. You don't want to see this error. Go to FMC, and it will give you the ARAC cycle updated for August, and August 13 to September 9, 20. And this was when my Navigraph subscription expired, so I'm not using the Navigraph since then. But I'm really happy with it. If I need to update the ARAC cycle for my plane to have the latest information about the waypoints in the airport, then maybe I'll update this. But up till now, till this point, everything is working good for me. Now you have to go to this option, position initialization. And in the position initialization, you will see some information coming over here, which you have to enter. The reference airport, which is OPLA, because this is what is required to tell the systems, the gyroscopes and other systems of the plane, that what is the current position of the plane right now. So from there, and the proper navigation information is entered in the system. Gate, it's not necessary to enter, but still, if you just want to give any input, you can give. It has no impact on the flight plan or anything else. Now you will see this option coming up, set ILS position. it's coming in boxes, it means it is necessary to give this information. And how to get the IRS position? Very simple. You see this option next page, just click this. And over here you will see GPS left and GPS R. Kindly excuse me if I've said GPRS before. I'm really sorry for this. Actually, I'm from a telecom sector. and I started my career back in 2003. In 2003, it was no 4G or anything or Edge. It was GPRS. General, I think they used to call it General Packet Radio Service. So every time when I'm saying GPS in my videos, I'm always saying GPRS. Kindly excuse me for that. Okay. So GPS left, we can pick either of these options, or the left or the right. So I'll pick up the left, go to the previous page, and select this option, and that's it. So now the latest position is here. Now we have to go to the route option, and we have to select the route. Origin is OPLA. You will see it is automatically selected as per the previous page, so no need to enter OPLA. Simply click this button, and the OPLA will come up. Now it's important to give the destination, which is OPIS. And here you go, OPIS. For the flight number, I use my initials, AA. That is Atif Ahmed, 123. That's my flight number. Okay. Runway is 36 right. So 36 right. That's it. So this is the basic information that you had to enter over here. And your basic flight planning is done. Now we will get into some more details of the flight planning. And for this, I will click this option, next page. So in this page, you will see two options, via and to. It means which airway you are taking to which point. Airway is like a road, and to is like a destination. So let's say if you want to move from one point to another using street 1 to reach point 1. So street 1 is your via and point 1 is your to. And how to find this in the flight plan? Let's go into the flight plan and search for this information. If I go down in the operational flight plan, over here, found it, routing. So over here you will see that you can see two options. One is for the alternate route, another one is for the main. And in the main flight plan, you will see some information. That is OPLA. This is how you will read it. OPLA takeoff from 36 right. The first waypoint will be Umuki. I will tell you about this number later. So the first waypoint will be Umuki. Then you will take an airway. Airway is always alphanumeric, and waypoints are always alphabets. So you will take this J220 airway to Salna, and then DCT means direct to Sialkot. SLT, this is another waypoint, then direct to Indak. And then you will land at OPIS 28 right. So that's it. Now, what are these two numbers? Alphanumeric entries. Let's not call them numbers. So just to tell you the basic, now for every flight plan there is a SID and a star. SID is standard instrument departure, and star is standard arrival. So it is basically a protocol for the departure and for the arrival. Now if I go and show you the diagram, where it is up here. You can see that over here, the plane is, there is a certain, what you can say, a procedure that a plane has following, a flight path rather, to land at the runway. So which means that this is actually the star, the arrival, for the arrival. So there is a point which actually gives the protocol to the plane to follow a path to land. And similarly for the departure, you use SID. So these 2 points are the SID and the star for your flight. So you always have to find the SID and star for your arrivals and proper procedures. First of all, now I will enter this information, and then I will show you then how it works. So let's write this information. Anyhow, I can just always switch between the explain 11 and the sim brief. for your ease. So first is OMUKI. Let's go here. OMUKI. So this is a direct point. Okay. Because before this there is a SID, that is the standard instrument departure. So we will enter that information in the departure and arrival. But right now in the route page, I will just only give Umuki, which is the first waypoint that the plane will be reaching to after the takeoff. Then we have J220. Here it is, J220 to Salna, SALNA, SALNA. Then direct to SLT. And now once I click SLT, it showed me 3, because there are 3 different waypoints over here in the world which it is catching. One is the Sialkot, Westerland and Slate. And obviously I'm not going to Westerland or Slate because these cities are not in Pakistan, but Sialkot is there. So I'll click Sialkot and that's it. And what is the last one? Let's go on to the flight plan. And the last one is Indec. So you've seen I've entered Umuki, direct to Umuki, J220 to Salna, direct to SLT, and then the last is Indec. So over here, let's come and enter NDE and execute. And that's it. Now, if you see over here, which is the navigation display, the screen, and if you move this selector to flight plan, PLN, and you go to this option legs, okay, and you press this option step, so it will take you through all the points. But you can see it's only stopping at Indec. No airport is coming for the arrival. So this is now where we have to enter all the set and star and the arrival and departure airports. So let's go to departure, and let's select this option departure. You can see for the departure 36 right is already selected. You can select it, it's active. And if you go in the flight plan, you will see OMUK1D. OMUK1D is the SID for the departure. Now there is no 1D, so you can select 2D. Very simple. It's just hit and trial if your ARAC cycles are not matching. Anyhow, you can use this. I used it and it worked out for me. Okay, now I will go to back to this option, departure and arrival. I will select the arrival airport, and for the arrival, as I told you before, it is ILSY 28 right. That's it. And what is the star? The star for arrival is INDEK1A. INDE1K. There's no 1K, I will use 1A because it works for me. And transition is ISDUR, ISDUR. Now over here you must be thinking that over here in the operational flight plan there was no ISDUR, there was no discussion of any ISDUR. Let's see if we can find a clue that whether we should be using KEMUL or ISDUR. Let's go to the flight plan. So there is no information like this coming over here. But if I go over here in this map, you will see ISDUR is there. So no need to go and find it anywhere. This diagram tells you. So simply select ISDUR. That's it. And execute. Now you will see that the proper takeoff and landing procedures are there. And you see there is a direct takeoff, and this is the first point. Then step, you will go into OMUKI using the SID for the departure, and then Salna, then to SLT. Indec is the last point that we entered, and from there the certain points coming up, PU and OP, and then ISDUR as you've seen there on the plane, on the operational flight plan, and then a BTR 108 and a left turn and proper procedure for the runway. So that's it. So now your flight plan is ready. Now after entering all the flight plan, we have to enter some more information. So let's get back to the menu. FMC, position initialization, route. Now performance initialization. So for the performance initialization, there is certain information that is to be entered. One is the cruising altitude, The gross weight and plus the cruising center of gravity of the plane, that's already been picked up. And zero fuel weight plan, you can see it's not necessary because it's not in the box, the dashes, so you can just leave it. But the zero fuel weight, reserves, and cost index. And now I will tell you how to enter this information. As I will be cruising at flight level 280, which is 28,000. So this is how you enter. 250. So this is 25,000. And just click this. Now you have to enter this information: cruise wind, ISA deviation. It's again not in the box, so not necessary to enter. But anyhow, for this tutorial, we can just enter this information. Two informations we have to read from the operational flight plan. And here it is. Let's go to the detailed flight log. And over here you will see this option, top of cruise, TOC. And this is the wind and its direction. So the wind is from 173 degrees, the direction, and the speed is 36 knots. So 17336. And another one, the ISA deviation is 0. So that's good. 17336. So over here, 17336. And you can see the wind is now entered, and the ISA deviation entered 0, which is giving you the temperature at the cruising altitude. For the gross weight, simply click this option and you will get it. Zero fuel weight is also given. Reserves, let's go back to the operational flight plan. And over here you will find finals plus alternate, which is 2,718, which will be 2.8 tons. Let's go back and enter 2.8. Very simple. And cost index is 20 as per the flight plan that we initially selected, and press execute. Now over here, as per the real world procedures, the takeoff information is entered once all the information is there. But for this video, I will, for the sake of the continuity and just to make you aware of the FMC programming and everything, I will just go with the N1 limit. But if you follow any of the checklists, you will see the takeoff performance is entered just right before the pushback or before the startup. But anyhow, for this video, I will use the takeoff information to be entered right now. So over here, you will see some information regarding the deaccelerated rate for the engines. Now, there is this terminology that's used in the Airbus, which is known as the flex to temperature. And in the Boeing, it is known as the deaccelerated rate or the deacceleration, deaccelerated takeoff. Yeah, that you don't bring your throttle to 100% for the takeoff. You take off at a reduced thrust, just in order to have less pressure on the engines. But for this, you will see the takeoff speed 26,000. The pressure of the throttle or the speed is 24,000, is 22,000, and the climb profiles 1, 2, and 3. So this is the climb. The first option is climb. This option is like kind of an aggressive, very high climb rate with a maximum engine power. So I've already selected. I used to use these two options over here, which will actually result in 97.9% of thrust, not 100% during the takeoff. So just set it like this and just come to the takeoff page. And over here, flaps, I will take 5 degrees of flaps, and you will see V1, V2, and VR is updated. And the takeoff weight is also coming. Okay, and plus, just simply click this option and you will get the trim 3.25, 35.1%. Percent is the center of gravity, and that's it. So now you have entered all the information in the FMC which is required for the flight, and it's important. Whereas there are many other things which you can just go and check. Let's say for the destination, for the what you can say for the cruise, this option is also coming. Actual wind, whatever. But this information which I've entered right now is the most important information for the flight. And if you enter this information, you will be able to fly the plane. I will be soon doing another video on my channel, in which I will tell you how to program the FMC like as a whole, as a complete thing, everything entered into the system. Because right now I think I've not entered the secondary flight plan, or the alternate flight plan. Anyhow, for this video I just wanted to keep it simple. Okay, now it's time to get into the real business, and let's start this plane because it's been a long, and I think you guys will be waiting for the plane to be started. So as I told you before, the fuel is only in the left and the right tank. You can see the middle tank or the center tank is empty. So just only left and right tanks. You can see this sound coming up, which is for the fuel pump. Okay, now over here I'll come to the APU, as I told you before in the video, that after the ground power, before the pushback, we have to turn on the APU, because now it's time to disconnect the plane from the GPU. And for this, there's a small procedure. First of all, move this switch to on, and then to press it with the left mouse and just release it. So start on. Now over here on this dial, you will see this needle moving. It will just go, I think, up to 8, and then it will come back. Yes. Now it's working. Okay. So till the time APU is getting started up, let's get to EFIS, and let's set some information over here. Let's come to this option, and make sure that this is not set to flight plan like the way we did it before. It should be selected. It should be set to map. Okay, so map should be selected, as you can see. Okay, and adjust the ND range to 20. This is a nice comfortable range. During the takeoff you will be able to see all the waypoints and everything, so it's a nice view. Okay, now coming back over here, you can see the APU is now up and running. As you can see, this light is bright. APU generator off bus. Now you have to turn on the generators. This is the switch 2 and 3. So now the APU generator is up and running, and turn on the APU bleed. You will see the APU bleed over here. Move this button down. Now the APU bleed is on. Engine bleed switches, left and right, both are on. And if I go into the AC voltmeter, and if I move into APU generator, you will see now the power is coming from the APU. So it's good. Close the doors. These are the indicators if any door is open. Right now we didn't open any doors, so no need to close them. Otherwise, if you want to open and close the doors, if you go into this option over here, and ground services, you will see all the doors, so you can just open or close the doors from here if required. Okay, so that's it. Okay, now another thing, disconnect the GPU. As now we have a power coming in, as you can see, from the APU. No need for the ground power. Let's go here and ground service, disconnect the GPU, and you can see now the GPU is now disconnected, and still the plane is running. So that's the magic of APU. Okay, now some information to be entered over here in the mode control panel, MCP, which is this all mode control panel. The information is the speed, the heading, the altitude. That's it. So the speed we will be using is for the takeoff. You can see V2 is 147. So just enter the speed. Okay, I will tell you later that why this speed is required and why we are entering this information. Heading of the runway. First of all, change the bank to 25 degrees, and then the heading of the 36 right runway is 360. So I'll just keep it at 0. Okay. Altitude, cruising altitude is 25,000. I will set 25,000 because this is the top of cruise. Okay. in some other videos you will see the people setting this altitude to 9,000 or to 10,000 based on some information, as you can see, that are just right immediately after the takeoff. At this waypoint Umuki, we should be at 14,900 or flight level 149. Actually, the tower gives you the clearance to increase your altitude. So you don't climb straight away to 25,000 feet. There are steps. So maybe first you climb to 9,000, and then after the clearance you climb to 20,000 and then to 25,000. Whereas now we are not using any ATC communication, or I'm not using VATSIM. That's why I'm straight away climbing to 25,000 feet. Otherwise, if you're using VATSIM or you are using some ATC communication, then this altitude will be given by the ATC, and then you have to set this altitude. Anyhow, this is all done. Flight directors on the both side have to be on. You can see the flight directors are on. Auto throttle, arm it, and that's it. Now this is the longitudinal navigation and VNAV. This is also done. LNAV actually enables the plane or the autopilot to follow the flight path, so it will just follow wherever the flight path is taking the plane. So the autopilot will follow the flight path, and the VNAV option actually manages the climb and the descent rate and plus the speed of the plane. So these two options have to be entered. In some case, in this video, as I told you before, I will tell you why I set the speed to 147, but this is the point. I think I should clarify this point. Right immediately after the takeoff, I will press this button CMD to activate the autopilot. The moment I will enter this autopilot mode, the plane will start to fly according to the information given in the flight plan on these waypoints. So let's say what is how far this waypoint is, 22 nautical miles. The heading is 289 degrees, and the flight level or the altitude, it should be at 149. Sorry, yes, exactly, if I'm not wrong. Yes. Just wanted to clarify, because I was looking, I think maybe the speed was also coming. Anyhow, so this is the information. But if you don't turn on the LNAV and the VNAV option after the takeoff, you can also select the heading selector, and the plane will start to fly in the heading of 360 degrees, or like in a straight path. And plus, if you engage the speed, then you can adjust the speed over here. So after the takeoff, you have to be at the speed of 147 if the engines fail, because V1 is the point which comes on the runway from where you can abort the runway and take off, sorry, and you can still go back. But after V1, at that point, you then have to take off the plane, which is VR, rotate, and V2 is the speed at which the plane can fly with even a single engine if there's any kind of a failure or any kind of a fire. So the plane can fly on that speed. So the main objective of the pilots is basically to achieve 147 knots, so that they're in the safe position, and in case of failure they can always they can always go around or come back for the landing. So that's it. But as after turning on the autopilot, the plane will automatically following the flight path and plus all the speed profiles and the descent and the climb profile. So I will not be using the heading and the speed options, but if you want, you can use this. Flight directors on, auto throttle armed. Very good. Anything else? Now, some last checkups. The bus transfer, this cover should be closed. Hydraulic pumps. Let's turn on the hydraulic pumps. Anti-collision light on to turn other planes that we are in the vicinity. Isolation valve, it's open. Okay, now this is another important information that you have to check is the altitude in the overhead panel. It is actually for the cabin pressurization. You have to set this altitude to 38,000 feet, which is the cruising altitude, and the landing altitude is 1750, which is for Islamabad, as I've done this flight before. That's why this information is coming. Otherwise, you can get this information 25,000. Okay, and for the Islamabad it's 1750 because this is the ground elevation of that airport, and you can get the ground elevation of the airport from the airport charts. Later in this flight I will be referring to the airport chart to get the ILS frequency and plus the glide slope, so you can see that information over there. Then don't forget to switch this switch to auto. This is basically for the cabin pressurization. If you don't set the altitude proper, or it's not set to auto, your pilot will black out at the cruising altitude. It happened to me. So pressurization mode selector to auto. Throttle is idle. In the idle position you can see back. Packs. Now it's time to turn off the packs, and because right now all the air and all the power is required to turn on the engines, that's why we'll not be requiring packs. So I will turn on the left and the right pack and release the parking brakes, and now let's call for the pushback. So that's it. Now I will release the parking brake and I will go into this menu and I will call for the pushback. I'm not using any plugin for the pushback. I'm planning to explore it. Let's see. At Lahore airport it takes some time for the pushback cart or the tug to come. Let's see where it is. Oh, by the way, there is also a checklist over here, as you can see. I'll show you. What a nice view. Why can't I access it? Let's go back. Oops. Like this. Yeah. Okay. So you can see this checklist is also here. So if you want to follow this checklist, you can do this, and it can help you and all the startup procedures and everything. And you can just put it back. So this is the glare shield checklist. Let's wait for the tug. Now it is here, as you can see, and soon the pushback will start. Okay. One thing before starting the engines, you can see as now the packs are off, so the duct pressure is almost 30. It should be 30 psi to start the engines. If your duct pressure is below 30, the engines will not start. Okay, now to start the engines, first of all, engine start, and this switch should be on left or right. For this video I've kept it at right because this is the engine I will be starting first. Then you will see the engine start.
Okay, give me a second to clear.
Okay. Now move this switch to ground. Let me just engage the parking brakes. Also, what's happening? Okay. You can see the N2 will is increasing, and as soon as it is more than 20%, we can turn on the fuel control switch for this engine. So this is the control for the fuel switch control. And once it is at, I think, stable at 58%, then the engine is in the stable position. Let's go out and let's see what's happening. So engine 2 is now up and running. You always start with engine 2 and then you go to engine 1. Okay. The same procedure for engine 1. Switch it to ground and you will see it will you can hear the sound as well. Now it's time. Engine fuel control switch on, and that's it. So now we have the powers coming from the engines, and as soon as the engine is up and running, you can see this switch goes back to off position. You see, so it's good. Now it's time to basically turn on the engine generators, so that now the generators are running on engine. Initially we turn on the APU generator from here, now engine. Now the power is on the engine generators, and this time we can turn off the APU. because APU is no longer required, and you can turn off the APU bleed off, and packs to auto to get back the air conditioning. And you can see this is up now. Window heats, let's turn them on. Okay, and let's turn on the probe heat, and the yaw damper should be on over here. And let's set the flaps at 5 degrees, so down by 3 positions. I'm using Logitech 3D Extreme, so you can I have some buttons configured for the flaps. Otherwise you can also do it from here. Auto brake over here set to rejected takeoff, so if you decide to abort the takeoff, the braking will be really hard, so that the plane stops before the runway ends. And let's turn on the lights. No need in the morning, but anyhow, logo light on, wings on. Okay, that's good. Nice announcement. They also have some PA announcements over here. Let's go and check.
Cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, for me, it's like that one reporter flight today. We're wrapping up the final paperwork here.
This is really good.
Sincerely, want to thank you so much for your company.
Okay, as now everything is done, so it's time to take this plane up in the air and enjoy some flight. This was the main portion of the flight, because flight planning and all this information is necessary. Now it's time to enjoy the ride. If you are able to do all these things in an orderly manner, in an orderly fashion, you will be able to enjoy the flight. Otherwise you will not. So let's release the parking brakes and let's give some throttle to the plane. As I'm not using any plugin for the pushback, that's why my pushback is not really good. I've tried using the right and the left option. I don't know, it doesn't turn left or right, so I just simply go for the straight pushback, and then I turn during the taxi. So you can ignore this. I shouldn't have been doing this thing. So the taxiing is also easy. Remember to change the option of the nose wheel to yaw in the settings, as I showed you in the start of this video. Okay. Looking good. Nowadays it's raining in Islamabad. It's very rainy for the last few days. I was planning to do a flight with all the real weather on. Did I forget to close the cockpit door? Yes. It's closed. Okay. 2 more turns and then we are on the runway for the takeoff. I think this is a nice and comfortable position to fly the plane. Nice view. Okay. Okay, so here I am at the runway 36 right for Lahore airport, for Islamabad International Airport, and ready to depart for Islamabad. Here we are, and everything is looking good so far. Hopefully the flight is also good. My landings are not really good, so kindly excuse me for that if you don't find my landing to be really good. I will try to be good. And rotate. Let's take this plane up in the air. Gear up, and I will try to keep a very minimal vertical speed, although during the takeoff gaining the altitude is one of the main important things, but right now I also want to increase the speed so that I can retract the flaps. So keeping the vertical speed roughly at 2000. Let's reduce it a bit, as you can see in the heads-up display, and you can see it on the primary flight display, which is there on the left side with the chrono. And let's move it down a bit. So, and this is the altitude for the thrust reduction. You can see the thrust has now reduced to 92%, because at a certain altitude the thrust reduces to put less pressure on the engine. So we have to further decrease the vertical speed so that I can retract the flaps. That's it. So we are at the given speed. I will now activate the autopilot, and now it is activated. The speed is increasing. This is amazing. Auto throttle is on, and the flight director is also on. Yes, I think now it will reduce. Okay, so if you face this issue during the takeoff, no need to worry about it. You can try any of the autopilot options, and as I've done it right now, you can disengage the VNAV and you can engage it again. As you can see, the speed was increasing, now it is decreasing, so everything is good so far. Actually, when I was doing this video, just right after the taxi, my X-Plane 11 crashed, and I don't know, due to some any unforeseen reason, and I had to redo the flight. So instead of starting from the ramp or the gate and starting the plane from the cold and dark state, I had to start the plane or start the video or the simulation from the runway 36 ride with the engines already up and running. I configured the plane accordingly, but I think there was some slight thing missing. That's why we had just a slight glitch on the takeoff for the autopilot, but no need to worry about this. If you also face this issue, you can turn any of these options on. You can switch off the VNAV, and then you can switch it on, and then you can go back to the autopilot with this option. But anyhow, everything is looking good so far. And if I look at this option, we don't want to see the waypoints, and let's turn this off, and let's turn the weather. Let's see if we can see the weather. And you can see the different VORs over here. You can see it. The name is JJU and AAR, different VORs for different navigation. If you want to use the VOR navigation, you will be able to use it. This one thing which I skipped in the beginning is the barometric pressure. Obviously, during the takeoff, we don't need this. It is just only to calibrate your altimeter with the ATC so that you are having the correct readings for the altimeter, because you set the barometric pressure and the plane decides or calculates the altitude of the plane based on the barometric pressure. But during the landing, we have to set this barometric pressure. This reading will be in the sim brief, so we will be able to take it from there. As you can see now, this is I think if I'm not wrong, some orange, yellowish color, yellowish, orangish, something like this. Anyhow, just press on this standard button and there you go. Along with the landings, I'm also bad with the colors. On the yoke, you can see also that there is a checklist given, which you can just simply go through it, a quick one. So after the takeoff, air conditioning and pressure set, engine start switches, we have done it, landing gears up, auto brake off and everything. And during the descent, the pressurization altitude we have already set, it's there. Don't have to worry about this. And approach, briefing and fueling, discuss, IS and altitude. So we have to set this. And this is the settings for the approach and then for the landing. So you can also move this button and you can just go through it. So before the landing, we will just consult this line. Okay. Now during this this thing, one thing I just want to tell you is to look at the airport charts. So let's go and look for the OPIS charts that is there in my system already. So I have already downloaded this chart for the Islamabad International Airport. And this is freely available over the internet. You can search it, and remember, this is not for the real world. It's only for the simulation by Jepsen, and you can download these charts. Many people ask me how to download these charts, even in my previous videos. You simply have to type in the ICAO code for this airport space and then charts, and then you will get these charts. Or maybe you can also write OPIS Jepsen charts or something like this. But you can search it over the internet, and mostly all the charts are available, so no need to worry about this. I only have to consult the approach plate and just take some basic information out of it. And let's go to runway 28 right and search for this information. These are the approach plates for different runways. Where is 28 right? Okay. So this is the ILS or the localizer approach plate for 28 right. Yes, because I've selected Y, I selected ILS Y runway 28 right. So this is the right approach plate for this. The localizer frequency for the ILS is 110.7. This is what you have to enter into the navigation box at the pedestal. Then the course of this runway, or the heading of this runway, is 279 degrees. That's why it's known as 28 right. And the glide slope to be intercepted is at 3,000 feet. So this is what you'll enter. Minimums, or the decision height is, or the decision altitude is 1,950. You can enter the decision altitude as well in the system, 1950. I will tell you how to do this. So this is the basic information. So during the descent, we will descend to 3,000 feet. We'll set the heading at 279 degrees, and the localizer or the information for the ILS is 110.7, and that's it. You don't have to get into so much. Otherwise, if on your own you want to learn how to read the approach plates, you can search it over the internet, and there are so many other videos. Although I'm also planning to do a video in which I will tell you how to read the approach plate in a complete manner or in its totality. So let's get back into the cockpit and see that this ILS frequency is already entered over here. Let me just increase the brightness. As I told you before, I restarted the simulation. That's why the brightness is low. Otherwise, over here you will see 110.7. How to enter this frequency? Simply 110. You can, change the numbers like this with this dial, inner dial, and with the outer dial. In order to make this frequency active, just simply press this button and it is active. We can do it on similarly on the co-pilot side, 110.7. Here you go, and make it active. So now the frequency is active, and as soon as we are near the runway, you will see the ILS diamonds coming and giving you the heading. And after the takeoff, during the landing, the heading of the runway is 279, so you can set this heading to 279. This is again just like the similar procedure for the takeoff. I'll tell you right now, just set it to 279, otherwise I will be distracted.
1,000 to go.
So 1,000 to go, and the cruising altitude has been reached. Okay, so let's set it to 20 nautical miles for the MD so that I can see when the top of descent is coming. Okay, this heading is set to 279. So let's say before the landing, and once you align with the runway, you want to deactivate LNAV and you want to fly on heading select, then you can use this option. But right now for this video, it's not useful. Otherwise, it's better to set this option, heading select, and once you are aligned with the runway, you can fly using the heading select mode. But in this video, I will not be using that option. That's it. And the decision height was 1950. If I'm not wrong, you can select, this is the option to select the minimums. So you can select it to either barometric or the radio. So 1950 was barometric. I'll switch it over here and I will adjust the minimums. 1950. This is just an indicator just to tell the pilots that you have reached the decision altitude, 1950. Let's say, if I'm not wrong, let me just first set it and then recheck it. I think it was 1905. 1950. Okay, you can see 1950. Or if you're using the radio units, you'll use 200. If barometric, 1950. So as now I'm using barometric, I will keep it at 1950. Okay, so this is also set the decision height or the minimums. And that's it. Anything else? Are we missing anything else? Let's go and check. So pressurization check, anti-ice, we don't need it. Yes. So alternates and decision height, approach aids, start switches, recon. One last thing is to set the QNH or the barometric pressure at the Islamabad International Airport. Let's go to SIM brief. And over here, if you go into this option arrival, you will see the meta information, and over here you will see the QNH is 1014. So just remember this number during the descent. Once we have reached the transition altitude, we will set this barometric pressure to 1014. So top of descent is coming. So I will now set the altitude to 3000. This is the point or the altitude at which we will be intercepting the ILS. And that's it. You don't have to do anything else. Just set the altitude, and as soon as the top of descent is crossed, the plane will start to descend towards the destination. As I told you before, it's going to be a short flight, and I really had to rush through everything just to tell you. And so hopefully, one more thing before we start the descent, although we can also check it during the descent, but just to give you this information. If you go over here into a menu, and if you select the FMC option and you go into index, okay, using reserve fuel. Okay, so you can see that for approach, you will see different speeds at if you have 15 degrees of flaps. Sorry, one more thing to remember. You can see this throttle going back and forward. It's because on the controller that I'm using, the Logitech 3D Extreme, it's still in the middle at which I left the flight. Just remember, once you turn on the autopilot, just move the throttle all the way back and on your controller, and then this throttle will not act cuckoo during the flight. Okay, just remember this thing. Small tip. Initially, I was very worried. I was thinking, what's happening? So the speed was increasing and decreasing and decreasing. The throttle, although the speed remains the same, but the throttle was going back and forth. I don't know. But just remember to reduce the throttle on your controller. I'm using Logitech Extreme 3D Pro. Okay, so if during the landing, if you have got 15 degrees of flaps, you can your speed should be not less than 160 knots. At 30 degrees of flap, 147, and at full flaps, 140 knots. So I will be landing at full flaps, 140, just to be careful. If the speed is high, it's very difficult to control the plane during the landing. So as you can see now, the top of descent is coming, and let's wait for the plane to start the descent. And here you go. You can see this number is reducing, and you can see this diamond is also going down, and and now the descent has started. Now the plane will automatically descend towards the destination, and thanks to VNAV, at different points the plane will descend and will adjust the speed accordingly, as you can see it on your navigation display. Okay, so everything is now good. As you can see, there's an error coming, drag required, because right now the descent rate is very high and the speed is not decreasing. So in order to do this, simply engage the air brakes. Let's go out and see. You will see the air brakes being engaged. So these are the air brakes being fully engaged. Amazing. Okay, as now the speed is less, so we can move this forward. So nice information coming in the FMC. So as I told you before, it is almost fully functional plane. And I think the transition altitude, the altitude where we change the barometric pressure from standard to the given one, is 14,000 feet, if I'm not wrong, from Islamabad. So I will wait for this standard to turn its color to yellowish, orangish, or I'm sorry, I'm very bad at colors. I think it's more of a mustard color. Yes, I think it's more of a, I'll call it the mustard color. Okay. So everything is good. Nowadays, I'm also trying the 737 NG series by Level Up, which is a project by Threshold, and amazing planes, very nice. Zibo mod is good, but the interior of those planes is really nice. I have those videos on my channel, and plus I've also done one flight on that plane. It's also there on my channel. You can just go and watch it, and you will see the experience is amazing. The display is amazing. The tab is also good, and over here the screens, the eCams and the PFD and the navigation display is amazing. So do download those planes as well if you're using Zibo, and you will enjoy it. Okay, so 90,000 feet. So 18,000 feet. Everything is looking good so far. Speed is under control. We don't have any error coming up, and everything is looking good so far. Not a big issue. So ILS frequency is there. Let's do this check once again. ILS frequency is there. The glide slope for ILS intercept is at 3,000 feet, which is entered. Heading for the runway is 279. And flaps, I'm not extending the flaps, but as soon as I'm near the runway, I will start to do that, and along with the gears I will extend the flaps to 40 degrees, and during the landing I will keep the speed at 140 when I will disengage this VNAV option. So this was a quick check through the approach and landing procedures. Some more distance to cover. Terrain we don't need it, although there are mountains in Islamabad, so we have to be watching out for that. So you can just like activate and deactivate all the information from here. So terrain, you can see it started to come. Over here, these mountains, this mountain range is also known as the Margala Mountains for Islamabad, because Islamabad is at the base of these mountains. Nice view during the rainy seasons, especially when it's cloudy, because these mountains almost are hidden in the clouds. So not that high, but But afterwards, there is a huge range of mountains towards the northern side of Pakistan. Okay, so okay, it is armed, and let's see. I don't think so. So you can see now standard is like turned into this mustard color. I will change it to QNH and 1014. That's it. So now the altimeter is set. So you have to set the barometric pressure over here so that the altimeter gives you the right readings. Otherwise, some miscalculation can result in a disaster. I'll keep this range at 20 nautical miles. It will be easy for us to read it, because this circle is for 10 nautical miles, and then the outer one, the bigger one, is for 20. Okay, now you can see that we are almost near the Islamabad International Airport. The speed has reduced because there are certain deceleration points during the flight, and I will just show you over here. So on this point, the speed will further reduce, and at this point the plane will start to descend more than 6,000 feet. So this is how you read the information on the navigation display. As you can see now, 6,000 feet is coming. At this point, the plane will start to level off, but soon after this point, it will again start to descend. If you want to deactivate the VNAV option right now, you can deactivate the VNAV option, and you can set the speed accordingly. But don't deactivate the LNAV, because then the plane will not turn left or right. Or you can use the heading selector mode, but I'm not messing around with the flight plan right now, so I'm just leaving it to the autopilot to decide when to descend and when to reduce the speed. So right now the speed is at 240 knots, and over here, if I show you that at 250 knots you can take 1 degree of flaps, and then up till 5 degrees to this point. And after 210 knots, you can get the flaps by, or extend the flaps by 10 degrees, then at 215, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm not extending the flaps right now because I don't want to reduce the speed any further. So you can see the speed is now reducing more thanks to the VNAV. So if you have entered your flight plan properly, and every information regarding the waypoint is entered, you will see that the autopilot will follow all those procedures. And over here you will see this diamond coming in the primary flight display. This is the indicator for the ILS. So now it is coming because of this frequency which we entered over here, 110.7, and due to this reason you can see these diamonds. These diamonds have to be in the middle, the one at the bottom and one on the right side. They have to be in the middle in order to enter into the approach phase. Now you can see the heading of this plane is 279 degrees, so it's perfectly aligned with the runway. The runway is in the vicinity. Yes, you can see over here these two runways, 28 left and 28 right. So everything is good so far, nothing to be worried about. Okay, as you can see now, the speed is increasing because the plane is in the descent mode. That's why I will extend the flaps so that the speed is reduced. Or you can use the air brakes once again to decrease the speed more at a higher rate.
2500.
So I can go up to 5 degrees of flap right now, and the speed will reduce, so it's good. Now the flaps are extended to 5 degrees. I can release air brakes, and I think now it's time to, as you can see, this diamond is coming in the middle. I think we can activate the approach mode and the plane will start to descend further. Now it will follow the glide slope, as you can see, and the ILS information is also coming over here. So you just have to engage the approach mode once you are near the runway, and this diamond is over here in the middle. So everything is good so far, and you can see now the VNAV and LNAV has disappeared. I can further reduce the speed to this level, and then I can have 10 degrees of flaps. I can turn off the terrain radar, and let's activate the approach mode over here. I've set the approach mode. So which is telling me I am perfectly aligned with the runway.
1,000 feet stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
Okay, so let's lower the gears. Reduce the speed. I should have done this thing earlier, but anyhow, you can see the speed is reducing, so everything is looking good so far. Now I will just, at 100, I will disengage the autopilot and I will disengage the auto throttle. Speed, you can see it's on 40. Everything is good, so minimum, see? So this is the decision altitude. And
50, 40, 30, 20.
let's pull back on the stick a little bit. Oops! I told you. Okay, so now I don't know my, yes, now they are. My reverse thrust, I have some issues with my controller. On one press, the reverse thrusters are not activated. I think it's time to change my equipment. So that's it.
80 knots.
Thank you very much for staying with me. Hopefully this video will help you, and you have enjoyed this video. It's really a pleasure to be with you guys every time. If you got any questions, you can ask me in the comment section, and if you have any positive feedback, do share it with me. What else? Nothing else. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because I keep on uploading different videos, and you will be getting the latest updates of all the videos that I'm doing. And hopefully, you see, because I started the plane again from the runway, so my the wheel axis was not set to yaw. That's why you can see I'm having difficulty in turning this plane. So just remember to activate this option. You see, it's taking a bigger round for the turn. Anyhow, thank you very much for staying with me, and hope to see you soon. Have a nice day.